Hello everyone, my name is Alex. I'm a 2000 rated over-the-board chess player, and in this series we're going from 1500 to 2000 elo in chess.com rapid games, where I'll be explaining my thought process as best as I can for your education and entertainment. Here we have an advanced Caro Kann. Typically I used to play c5, but I've been trying to learn bishop f5. And my opponent goes g4, the Bayonet Attack, which is one of the scariest lines you can face in the Caro Kann. At least optically, it's very, very scary looking. And bishop e4 is the best move, by the way. Instead of going back to g6 immediately to provoke the move f3 and then go back to g6. And yeah, my opponent goes for this very scary thing where he basically forces my bishop off of this diagonal where it's controlling e6. Because if he pushes e6 straight away, I'll just take it with the bishop rather than the pawn, right? By doing this, he's trying to kind of ruin my pawn structure, and he's probably going to play bishop d3 to try and trade off this bishop and weaken this diagonal towards my king. In a lot of lines, I believe my king will end up on d7, which is very odd. We are up a pawn, but like it's a very strange position. But I've been learning more about how to combat this line. So for those of you who play the Caro Kann, this is going to be very, very useful, I'm sure. And for those of you who just want to watch an interesting game of chess, I can guarantee this is going to be interesting. So I believe queen to d6 is one of the better moves in these positions. h5, I can always meet with bishop to f7. I think you're supposed to play h4 first. So then after h5, you go e6 because you provoke me to play h5. Whereas here, I don't have to play h5. I don't think. Because after h5, I can just go bishop f7, whereas in the previous position before e6 and f takes e6, I wouldn't have the f7 square to retreat to, so I would have to play h5 to give myself the h7 square to go to. I don't see a problem with throwing in this check. Okay, let's pause. Here. If here, I'm really not seeing a reason not to play queen g3 check. Okay. What am I missing? What am I missing? I don't know. I don't know if I've fallen into a trap. Knight h3. What is that? If rook g1, just bring the queen back? I can't play e5 because that would block my queen's escape. Although if rook g1, I could go here, but then bishop g5. So, okay. What's wrong with knight f6? Or even knight d7 to castle queenside? e5 is a very common move, but I can't play it just yet. Because, like I said, it blocks my queen's retreat. Oh, wait, sorry. Bishop f4 is the idea. To trap my queen, I assume. So I should probably back out of the position or somehow control f4. But if e5, rook g1, queen h4, bishop here. Although if e5, rook g1, queen h2 check, if rook here, then I take. And the rook has no useful discoveries. So here. If I take on d4, then bishop f4 traps the queen, so I can't do that. Maybe e6, opening up my dark squared bishop. e5, rook g1, queen h2, king e1. Again, if take, then take. That's fine. If pawn f4, that's no good. I just take here, surely. If queen takes, queen c2. If rook g2, I take the knight. If knight g5, I take the rook. If e5, knight g5, maybe that's annoying. Okay, what happens if I just go knight d7? Well, then bishop f4. And my queen is trapped. So what happens if queen d6, bishop f4? I can't go e5. So I think I need to go e5. Maybe this. Oh, wait, is that a problem? Bishop d2 if queen to h4, trying to escape to f6. Or bishop e3, same idea. Well, now I can take, and if here, I can give check. If take, let's say... Oh, wait, no, then there's bishop f4, though. This is so complicated. What about e4? Going after f3. If take... Take... Bishop g2, I take. If e4 here, then take. I think I'm going to go for this. I'm also potentially, if we trade, opening up bishop to c4 check ideas. Let's say knight d2, defending the pawn. Then e5. Bishop. Well, no, I don't even have to play e5, because if knight here, take, knight takes, then queen g4. Preparing bishop to h5 as well. Okay, so knight to g5 defends this. But can I not just take? And then queen g4. Rook g1, queen h5, knight e5. What about knight f6? Rook g1. Queen d6. I am up a pawn, by the way, so I don't necessarily have to grab another pawn. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it, and I hope that this is a very interesting video. Maybe bishop h3 is annoying. Yeah, I probably shouldn't. I'm going to go knight f6. I need to get developed. And there's a very good chance I'll castle queenside, because I don't want to castle into this. If pawn g5, I can consider both knight e4 and knight takes h5 with knight to f4 check ideas, or knight g3 check ideas. Okay, knight e5. If take, with threats on the bishop f2, I can take that. I don't see a reason not to play this. Okay, let me just check I'm not missing anything. The bishop's under attack, so he has to do something about the bishop, and if he trades, then I trade queens, and I'm up 2 pawns. Also, h5 is weak. I think knight e5 is a bit short-sighted. Now, white may be completely lost regardless, but holding the tension seems like a better thing to do. I don't know, a move like rook g1, for example, seems much better. Because I can't take on g4, and after I move my queen, I'm not threatening this, because the rook defends this. And then you can go knight e5, perhaps, but now you don't have rook g1, because I'll take the bishop. So this looks completely winning, and I'm up 2 pawns. Yeah, this is the thing. The bayonet attack is very scary, but it can be dealt with. Okay, well, now I can just trade, though. I mean, I don't see a reason not to trade. And then just go knight d7, and I'm up 2 pawns. e5, potentially. Okay, maybe not. Maybe my opponent's relying on the fact that we have opposite-coloured bishops, and that he might try to get a draw because of that. Okay. e5 take, rook e8, king d4. It's annoying. e5 take, check. Well, then I'm just getting slaughtered. e6. To prepare bishop d6, then e5. Looks good. King g8 would walk into checkmate in 1, which would be not ideal. Rook e8. Preparing pawn e5. If rook e8, bishop d7, rook d8, bishop back. Have I achieved anything? Don't know. g6 is interesting. Opening this up. I think I like g6. This feels like the least complicated line. We're not allowing h6, because we'll, of course, take it. And then we can go king g7. To unpin. Play rook f8. Okay, that's a move. If here, then bishop d7, but then I can take it because my knight is no longer pinned. So that's okay. Okay, knight f3. If here, bishop to d8. Sorry, d7, because my knight is abandoned that square. Check. King doesn't have many squares that don't walk into discovered check, so let's say king c3. Yeah, I've just got to move my rook, and then rook takes e7 is problematic. Okay, what about knight e4, just blocking off the file? Knight e4, knight e5, rook f8. Looks good to me. I don't want to take this and open this up. I would want him to take me. Also threatening knight to f2 check, which I think he's just missed. Picking up the bishop. Or he can give me the exchange instead. And yeah, he resigns. Well, I guess that's dealing with the Bayonet Attack. The Bayonet Attack, like I said, it's a super scary line. But it can be dealt with. It certainly can be dealt with. Let's jump into the computer analysis and see what it has to say. I'm going to be very intrigued to see whether it likes queen to g3 check or not. That is my main question, and this is why it's important to use the computer to analyze your games, to figure out kind of not necessarily the exact move order, because there was definitely other move orders my opponent could have gone for, but whether queen g3 check is a bad idea or a good idea, or whether it just depends. So let's jump into the analysis and see what the computer has to say. Okay, so 80.4% accuracy for my opponent, 88.8 for us. Looks like there was one point where we could have played a little bit better, played a bit of a better move, but other than that, it seems like it was pretty smooth sailing. So let's jump into it. e4, c6, d4, d5, e5, bishop f5. As I said, I used to play the c5 line, which is fine, but I often got into uncomfortable positions. I got into a lot of very nice positions, but also some uncomfortable ones. So I've been trying to learn bishop f5, which is generally considered the better move. g4, the Bayonet Attack. I have recently learned that bishop to e4 first is better than bishop to g6, because I think here the immediate e6 is quite strong, and taking isn't very good because of knight f3, and we can't play pawn to e5 because the knight controls this, so something like taking knight to f3 is very uncomfortable. So we have to instead play queen d6, and this position I actually quite like for black, but it's kind of uncomfortable. So bishop e4 first is better, because after f3, bishop g6, if the immediate e6 is played, which my opponent does play, it's not as good, because after takes, there's no knight to f3 to stop pawn e5. Now, queen d6 is the better move, actually. Again, going for this kind of thing, same sort of scenario. But yeah, typically I see h4, and after h5, then e6. I've seen this a lot, but apparently this is a better position for black. I wonder why. What's wrong with the inclusion of h4, h5? I don't know. Bishop e3. Oh, because we open up the h file. Is that a problem? And if g5, we give the check. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So e6 straight away is actually quite good. F takes, h4. Okay, h5 here is better. But what about this? Take, take. Is it? Yeah, okay. And then if check, we just move the king to d8. These positions are quite uncomfortable after moves like g5, stopping the knight from developing, but the point is that I have pawn e5 here. I know I've previously played queen g3 in this position, which is a very bad move, because if I try to bring my queen back and play pawn e5, then I think I get hit with queen f7, going after the bishop, and it's really hard to defend, like something like this, and if e5, de5, queen e5, and I think I'm just losing on the spot. So basically, if my opponent does go for the bishop d3 line, take, take, queen d6, queen g6, I need to go king d8, pawn g5, e5 straight away. Because then if queen f7, I can go e6 defending. And this is a really weird position, but I can force a queen trade. And let's say, check. Let's say c3, bishop d6, take, take. It's equal material. I have better central control. It's a bit of a mess of a position, to be honest. But anyway, queen t6, h5, queen g3 is the best move. Okay, awesome. Because if I drop the bishop back, then f4. Yeah, this is what I was thinking. I was like, well, either f4 or knight e2. Knight e2 is apparently bad because of e5. But f4 stops e5, and then it's like, how am I going to get developed? So queen g3, king e2 is the best move. If king to d2, this is better because this bishop can't get out now. Neither can this knight, really. And if knight e2, I can just drop back or take on f3. So king e2, bishop f7 is the best move. Knight h3 is the best move. e5 is the best move. Yeah. Queen c7 also playable. But e5, bishop e3 is a mistake. Rook g1 is better. So I'd calculated queen h2 and if this, then this. So if bishop, so bishop to g2. Here, I can't take because of this. So apparently queen g3 is the best move. And we just repeat. Or if bishop to e3, ed4, bishop f4, queen h4, bishop here, queen g3. And it's basically just a repetition. But obviously with the black pieces, that's not bad going to get an early draw, realistically. And that's, you know, if a bunch of theory is blitzed out, which my opponent doesn't do. He goes bishop to e3. I go e4. Apparently this is playable, but again, this is just a repetition. So I played e4. I thought that was a bit more ambitious. Here, the best move is knight d2. Guarding this. I think I was considering take taken here, but that is not good because of knight to f4, apparently, or knight g5. So my best course of action is pawn e5, which I was actually calculating. I was calculating e5 here. And here I kind of just explode the position. And I thought it'd be quite interesting. You know, because like if take, then I can take here with check. I can take here, knight f6 even. There's so many moves. But my opponent went knight g5, which confused me. I just took. And he took, and then I played knight f6, which is the only good move. Queen g4 isn't that good. I thought that bishop h3 was the problem, but apparently that's fine after queen g3. Although I'm nowhere near as good as I am after knight to f6. Going after g4 and just developing, right? So here the best move for white, you will never see it. If you find this move for white, I don't know, you're a grandmaster or something. Try and find it. I don't think you will. It's queen c1. I guess preparing bishop f4. And here after queen d6, bishop h3. Because the point is, if I take, then bishop h3 comes with tempo, queen h5, and then the crucial bishop c8 with a nice double attack. Crazy position. But knight e5 was played by my opponent, and we go knight g4, the only good move. And yeah, because if I do anything else, let's say bishop e6, the second best move, then rook g1, and then g4 is fine. See, I was expecting in this position the immediate rook g1, which apparently after queen c7 is quite good for us. And if knight e5, e6, and I'm okay because my queen defends the bishop. But this definitely has more potential for white than what my opponent went for, which is knight e5, knight g4, queen d2. Again, I thought he was going to trade with me and maybe try to run the king away, but to be fair, I do just get a queen trade, and I'm still up 2 pawns. But queen d2, the engine likes taking here, and then taking here, and then if this, then I have a check with a fork. So it calls queen takes e3 a miss, but like, I just want to get an easy endgame. So I trade queens, knight d7, knight f7, king f7, bishop h3, knight f6, and I'm up 2 pawns. The position is like kind of uncomfortable, but it wasn't that hard to break out of. Rook f1, g6, knight d2, bishop h6 check. I liked this plan. I was initially considering rook e8. I rejected that on the basis of bishop d7, but the engine thinks that that's silly because of king e8, apparently. I don't understand. h6, g6. Okay, so what about just knight c3? Okay, then knight h5. It just wants to grab a pawn, which I'm sorry, but it's not a very not a very human way to play. So I went g6, knight d2, bishop h6 check, and I could have taken the knight. The engine actually wants me to take the knight, but I didn't think there was a necessity to do that. So I went king g7, rook a to e1. Here I was considering knight takes it. Sorry, not in this position. That would lead to mate. After rook a to e8, knight f3, I was considering knight takes h5, which actually is the best move, threatening this. But I thought bishop d7 was problematic. And if I move the rook, then it is. So I have to find e5, which is nuts. So if you take, then rook e7, and if e6, rook f8, I'm just better, apparently, because I guess the bishop's out of the game. And if you take, then e4 check, king c3, rook e8, knight e5, and after bishop f4, I'm much better, somehow. Oh, I lock the bishop in place. And I guess h5, h4 is coming. Still, though, this is unnecessary to give up the exchange, so I just went knight e4 instead. Blocking up the e-file, knight e5, rook at h to f8 offering a trade, and then my opponent, of course, blunders knight to f2 check. Had he played something else? I mean, what can he play? Let's say he trades. Rook takes, and bishop g2. Then, I mean, I think this is more resilient, but it's still quite a nice position for me. Knight g3 stops rook here, and the rook can't kick my knight out because of bishop takes e3. So here I just have a very nice position. Bishop g5, and, I don't know, h6, king g8. I'm kind of just happy. My opponent can try and go for an opposite colour bishop endgame, maybe, but yeah, he plays c4, I go knight f2 check, and the game is over because either he moves his king and I win his bishop, or he gives me an exchange and I'm up 2 pawns as well. So, you know, this is completely lost. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully it gave you a bit more insight into the bayonet attack in the Caro Kann, both whether you're going to use it against Caro Kann players or whether you face it when you play the Caro Kann. If you want to see another very interesting video in the Caro, check out the video up here. And if you want to see the previous episodes of the speedrun, check out the playlist down there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in one of those videos.